More people wanted to know where to buy a Warframe like Silver Killer. They had searched the Skynet for all products available, but found nothing like it. Many people had guessed that it was custom made, but still have no idea which company had produced it, as there was no imprint on Silver Killer. At the same time, in a military factory, Liu Changming said to Professor Tang, "Come and look at this." Tang Mingxiu was an authoritative figure in the Warframe industry and specialized in biological Warframe. The super biological Warframes that they were preparing to launch was a product developed by Tang's team. After Tang Mingxiu sat down, Liu Changming played a video showing Han Sen and Silver Killer's game, the version edited by Fang Mingquan. Tang Mingxiu was slightly surprised and said, "This is the T9 prototype from our lab. Its driver must be an Evolver player." "Good eye, Professor Tang. It is the T9 prototype, but its driver is a freshman at Blackhawk, 17 years old and unevolved," Liu Changming said with a smile. "A military school freshman." Tang Mingxiu was stunned and carefully looked at the video again. He could not believe an unevolved person can reach this level. "Professor Tang, the video you see right now is a single Warframe combat, which had aroused great attention among all major military schools. Now almost all the military school students know about Silver Killer, which is our T9 prototype," Liu Changming said with a smile. "You want to take advantage of this opportunity to launch T10. Tang Mingxiu immediately understood what Liu Changming was going for. "I think this student is fit to be T10's spokesperson to help us promote T10, and T10's appearance needs some changes to imitate T9. Professor Tang, what do you think of this idea?" Liu Changming explained his proposal. "I'm okay with it, but he is just a military school student. Can he really be the spokesperson of T10? Tang Mingxiu wondered. Liu Changming laughed. "I have done a detailed investigation of him, and it chances that he is a member of the Special Squad." "He is a Special Squad member?" Tang Mingxiu was surprised again, because it was very rare that someone Han Sen's age could join the Special Squad. "Yes, you remember Qin Xuan from House Qin. She was the one who recommended Han Sen." Liu Changming smiled. "That girl, she is still in First God's Sanctuary." Tang Mingxiu nodded. He had a great impression of Qin Xuan. "She should evolve and go to Second God's Sanctuary very soon," Liu Changming replied. Tang Mingxiu nodded and said, "Since he is recommended by that girl, he should be able to endorse T10. Since you agree with me on this, then I will go ahead and execute the plan." Han Sen did not know there was a good thing waiting to happen. At this moment, he was humming a little song on the way to a date. After celebrating the entire night with his roommates, Han Sen texted Jai Yanran and got a reply from her unexpectedly. Jai asked him to meet at the cafeteria near their dorms, the one that had the fruit juice that they both enjoyed. Ready to be kissed by this beauty, Han Sen felt full of energy and power walked to the cafeteria. "Well done. You are keeping your promise this time." She blushed a little and remained quiet. Biting her pink lip, she regarded Han Sen with her charming eyes for as long as 10 minutes. As thick-skinned as Han Sen, he was shy after being looked at for so long. He said, "I know I am very handsome, but if you keep gazing at me like this, I might get the wrong idea." "What wrong idea?" Jai Yanran finally spoke. "Wrong idea that you want to make a pass at me." Han Sen blinked, looking abashed. Jai Yanran blushed more and stared at Han Sen. "You wish. I'm afraid you would wish that." Han Sen looked scared. Jai Yanran snapped, "Stop the nonsense, or I will leave." "Do not go. You still owe me the kiss." Han Sen shamelessly stuck his face in front of Jai Yanran and pouted. Here, on the lips. Jai Yanran was very shy and flicked him on the forehead. "If you keep doing that, I will leave for real. I'm just trying to claim what is mine." Han Sen rubbed his forehead and said helplessly, "I can kiss you, but you have to answer a few questions first. On the spaceship, did you or did you not cheat in the game?" Jai Yanran stayed calm and asked, "I've told you a lot of times. I have not cheated." Han Sen spread out his hands. "Did you have an account on the BattleNet?" Jai asked again. "Yes," replied Han Sen. "What is your ID?" Jai Yanran hesitated and asked anxiously. "My girlfriend is Jai Yanran," Han Sen answered directly. Jai Yanran's face was burning. She cried, "How can you use such an ID? I was just stating a fact." "You are my girlfriend." Han Sen looked at Jai Yanran, blinked and said, "You cannot expect me to do this in public." Jai Yanran looked like she was drunk with her crimson cheeks. Han Sen's heart suddenly raced. He widened his eyes and said, "Do you want to get a room?" "Shut up." Jai Yanran was trying to say something when she saw a few students approach them. She quickly lowered her hood like a frightened little rabbit. Holding Han Sen's arm tightly, she used it to cover her face. Although Jai Yanran hid herself well, the students still came over to greet Han Sen. "Han Sen, are you Han Sen? You are my idol. Your game was so great. Your skills are amazing." These freshmen talked excitedly to Han Sen, who had become a celebrity at Blackhawk. "This is your girlfriend." Soon they noticed that Han Sen had a girl next to him, but did not recognize Jai Yanran since she was hiding her face. Jai Yanran now wanted to find a hole on the ground and escape. She could not leave and did not want to stay. "Yes, my girlfriend. She is shy and does not like to speak," Han Sen said with a smile. "Quiet girls are great," commented the students, and Han Sen was very happy to chat with them. At this time, Jai Yanran was tightly holding his arm, and he could feel the softness surrounding his arm, which he enjoyed very much. Han Sen hoped he could prolong the conversation as much as possible, but the students were very polite and did not want to disturb them. Han Sen had to let them go. It was the middle of the night. They did not run into anyone else before they reached Jai Yanran's dormitory building. "Sister, you will not go back like this, right? The contract has not been fulfilled yet," Han Sen bitterly said. Jai Yanran rolled her eyes at him and reached out a hand. "Give me the contract." Han Sen obediently gave her his contract. She took the contract back, blushed and said, "Close your eyes." Han Sen followed her command. Jai Yanran took a deep breath and fought back her desire to escape. With her heart racing, she stood on her toes, pressed her pink and tender lips on his lightly, and quickly turned away. It was too late. Before her lips could leave his hand held her waist and his other hand slipped into her silky hair and hugged her beautiful neck. Jai Yanran was suddenly in Han Sen's arms and her lips were pressed against his. Jai Yanran's body was stiff at first and then slowly softened. Her hands helplessly clutching Han Sen's shirt, she stepped back uncontrollably as her legs became weak. Han Sen just had the best experience and would not let her off the hook. He kept up with her and pressed her body against a column of the building. The two just had the first taste of love and was lost in ecstasy. Jai Yanran did not dare to go back to her room right away. She hid in a restroom for a long while before she returned to her room. Lily saw Jai Yanran was back and said, "Sweetie, did you see that nasty couple downstairs?" "What nasty couple?" Jai Yanran pretended to be making her bed, her face crimson. "The couple that were making out in front of our building. OMG, are they horny? And the guy is so shameless," he even said. "Forget it. I can't even repeat that. And the girl must be such a slut," Lily said madly. Jai Yanran was so shy that she wished she could become invisible, but she had to act it like nothing had happened. In Han Sen's room at Steel Armor Shelter, Han Sen was taken aback by the black tiger with a third eye on its forehead in front of him. The tiger's claws looked like they were made from black metal. Han Sen could not believe it was Meowth that he was looking at. What was more surprising to him was the change in Meowth's data. Type of beast, soul of sacred blood, three-eyed cat, pet. The words were easy to understand, but shocking nonetheless. After eating some meat of mutant phantom ants, Meowth started to transform as a mutant pet. But after the transformation was over, it became a sacred blood pet, which was something Han Sen had never heard of before. Han Sen repeatedly confirmed the word sacred blood, and decided to go back to the Alliance and look it up on the Skynet. How could this happen? I have read a lot about beast soul pets, but never knew a pet could evolve. After a lot of searching, he finally found a relevant post on the Polar Night forum. The poster was someone with the ID Pet Life, a fanatic about beast soul pets. Because beast soul pets were very rare and high maintenance, people would not bother to feed an average pet, since they would be useless even after transformation. But Pet Life had fed nearly 1,000 beast soul pets in a decade, all of which had transformed. Of course, what Pet Life had bought was mainly ordinary beast soul pets, some primitive beast soul pets, and just a few mutant beast soul pets. Among all Pet Life's pets, there was an ordinary Minidog that had evolved after transformation and became a primitive beast soul pet. The evolution of Meowth was great luck, which would not likely repeat itself. Although it was not quite possible, Han Sen was still feeding the Rockworm King more vigorously. Looking at Meowth, which could switch back and forth between combat state and pet state as he wished, Han Sen grinned. When Han Sen entered Steel Armor Shelter again, his destination was Devil Desert. Taking Wang Mingmeng last time, he could not have hunted as he had wished. This time Han Sen had made up his mind to make the Sacred Blood Fox King into a barbecue if he saw it again. Putting his Sacred Blood Black Beetle armor on in a secluded place, Han Sen summoned Meowth and made it transform into the combat state. Meowth had fur like tungsten and was twice the size of a tiger. Han Sen was riding it like a mount and it was much faster than his mutant three-eyed beast. And whenever it encountered different creatures, Meowth would go ahead and kill them. Average creatures would simply avoid it when smelling its presence. Haha, feeding it for so long was totally worth it. This is so much better than a beast soul mount. A beast soul mount would not take the initiative to attack, and could only cause some damage when charging. However, a beast soul pet was simply a specialized killing machine. The only bad thing was that this guy was running too wild and did not provide a comfortable ride. The creatures that the sacred blood three-eyed cat killed were all fed to the golden rock worm king. The worm king was like a garbage disposal and could consume all that was fed to it. As a result, it grew bigger and bigger. But primitive creatures did not boost its size like the mutant ones did. Primitive sand snake killed. Beast soul of primitive sand snake gained. Eat its meat to gain 0 to 10 Geno points randomly. Hansen saw the sacred blood three-eyed cat tearing a sand snake of 12 feet long into parts and heard the voice in his mind. Haha, gorgeous. This is the best thing ever. Hansen grabbed the sand snake beast soul in the form of a spear and felt on top of the world. For the time he had spent in God's sanctuary, this had been the most fun hunting trip Hansen had ever taken. Meowth was responsible for killing, and Golden Rock Worm King was cleaning after it. All he needed to do was to watch. His only regret was that he had not seen a single horned sand fox after traveling for 2 days in Devil Desert, let alone the Fox King. Strange. Has someone else killed all the foxes? Hansen frowned. It seems that someone has really come here. Hansen became alert, took back Meowth, and went on walking alone. The number of the bodies of rockworms began to increase. Some died with only half of their bodies above the ground. Hansen wondered what kind of weapon had made such brutal blows. In the valley, Son of Heaven and his gang were hunting horned sand foxes. Hansen knew almost all of them, but one of them Hansen had never seen before. He was a bear of a man, as strong as Shijikang. Wearing half armor and wielding a black sledgehammer, he had a scary look. When he waved the sledgehammer, a rockworm would be crushed and a group of horned sand foxes would be wiped out. Crap, where did Son of Heaven find this guy? Wondered Hansen. If this guy was from Steel Armor Shelter, Hansen should have heard of him. Hansen saw the sacred blood fox king at the end of the valley. The foxes were throwing themselves at the gang but could do nothing to stop the slaughter. The valley was a cul-de-sac and the foxes had nowhere to run, so they had to stay and fight. If it was not for the fact that I had killed the Golden Rock Worm King, the Fox King might still be able to fight them off. I probably did Son of Heaven a favor. Hansen quietly sneaked into the valley, unwilling to hand the favor to Son of Heaven. The guy using the sledgehammer was so fierce that the foxes could not resist his attacks at all. With countless casualties, the foxes had been forced into the end of the valley. That sacred blood fox king was also screeching desperately, looking miserable. Suddenly, Hansen saw a trace of inexplicable slyness from the eyes of the fox king and suddenly felt a chill. How could I forget how cunning the fox king is? If it really wanted to run, it would have never come to this place. There must be something wrong. The fox king suddenly disappeared in the hole and all the mutant foxes surrounding it entered the hole one by one. Damn, this beast is treacherous. Follow it and do not let it run away. Son of Heaven commanded furiously. Hansen shook his head. Son of Heaven had let the sacred blood fox king get under his skin. If Hansen were Son of Heaven, he would have ordered retreat immediately. With such a small hole, only one person could squirm through like a snake at a time. There was no way to use weapons and God knows what tricks the Fox King had set up. Apparently, Son of Heaven and his gang did not share his thoughts and wanted to go after the Fox King. But when only half of them had gone through the hole, the entire valley started to tremble. All the sand and stones were trembling in waves like the ocean. Indeed, its tricks are about to come. Hansen quickly retreated and watched this strange scene in the valley from afar. Hansen saw from where he was hiding that much golden liquid had welled from under the sand as if the sand was bleeding, suddenly coloring the valley golden and flowing toward the gang. With his extraordinary eyesight, Hansen had seen that the liquid was formed by a sea of numerous bean-sized golden bugs. The golden bugs flowed over the bodies of rockworms and horned sand foxes, leaving nothing behind, not even a bone. When covered by these bugs, the huge rockworm's body disappeared in seconds, which made Hansen nervous. Now this is gonna be fun. Son of Heaven's gang might all die here. Well done, Fox King. Hansen thought delightedly. He was waiting to see if Son of Heaven would be killed. If not, he would finish Son of Heaven off himself. He had wanted to kill Son of Heaven for a while now, but never had the chance. Son of Heaven was too strong himself and was always followed by his gang. Finally, he had encountered such a good opportunity, and Hansen did not intend to let it go. Son of Heaven's gang was soon surrounded by those golden bugs. There was no way to run from the sea of bugs. Go out. Son of Heaven gritted his teeth and started to run. The gang stomped on the bugs and rushed out. The bugs were more fragile than Hansen had imagined and could not even withstand their weight. Waving the sledgehammer, the big guy threw sand and bugs in front of him in the air and made a way for the rest. Following this guy, Son of Heaven's gang managed to leave the valley. As #T. Who is this fierce guy? I can't believe Son of Heaven survived that. Brother Gu, thanks to you, we are still alive, Son of Heaven said to Gu. Gu smiled and said, it's nothing. We are friends. Suddenly Gu's expression changed as he felt acute pain in his waist. 2 daggers were stabbed deep into both sides of his waist and only the handles were exposed. 2 of Son of Heaven's men each took one of Gu's arms and pushed him down on the ground. The rest helped control Gu as well, leaving him no chance to fight back. Blood flowed from his waist. Han Sen was appalled. He did not expect to see such a turn. They had just been through life and death, and Gu had even saved the gang members' lives. How come Gu was suddenly treated like a dog? What are you doing? Gu muttered, unable to believe what had happened. How dare a piece of crap like you call Son of Heaven brother? You only got lucky because you have gained a sacred blood beast soul. One of Son of Heaven's men stomped on Gu's face, filling Gu's nose and mouth with blood. You bastards. Seething with anger, Gu tried to struggle. Pushed down by several people, his strength still almost allowed him to throw them off. One of Son of Heaven's men grabbed a dagger stuck in Gu's body and gave it a twist. With a scream, Gu suddenly lost all his strength. The gang kicked and hit Gu, about which Gu could do nothing as he was held down. Son of Heaven remained silent and nodded to his men when Gu had become weak. Gu, since you have saved us, hand over your sacred blood sledgehammer, and we can let you live, a man said fiercely as he grabbed Gu's hair. Even if I had to die, I will not give you anything. Gu spit out a mouthful of blood at the man's face. Snap. The man slapped Gu hard in anger and said viciously, do you King think that you can die whenever you want? If you don't give me the hammer, I will make you beg for a chance to kill yourself. Get rid of his claws first. The gang was skilled at torture. They held Gu's hand down and nailed it on the ground with a dagger. Gu let out an excruciating scream. His fingers could not help spreading out. A man held one of Gu's fingers and stuck a knife under his nail. Covered in blood, the nail had almost been separated from the flesh. With a hard pull, the man took the entire nail abruptly from the finger. Gu was screaming like a pig being slaughtered, his body twitching. The pain was simply beyond imagination. It so happened that he was held down by a few people and could not even move. Han Sen observed the situation and found that there were too many strong men in Son of Heaven's gang. Han Sen could not save Gu on his own. Gu was really tough. After 3 of his nails were pulled off, he still did not agree to their demand and was still cursing the gang. In the end, his body could no longer take the pain and he fainted. Son of Heaven, what now? This guy is tough. Tie him up. Let's find a place to set up the tent and get something to eat first. Son of Heaven saw it was late and did not dare to camp right outside this strange valley. As Son of Heaven's gang were about to finish eating, Han Sen thought if Gu was tortured again, the big guy would probably be useless even if rescued. Having an idea, Han Sen summoned Meowth and ordered it to run toward the other side and roar at the gang. A creature. It's a sacred blood creature. Do not let it run away. Knife and Baldy stay. We will go hunt that sacred blood creature, ordered Son of Heaven, leaving 2 guys watching the camp and Gu, while he chased the sacred blood 3-eyed cat with the rest. Running, Son of Heaven instructed, spread out and circle around it. We could not go far since it's dark. Seeing the gang running away, Han Sen summoned the wings and shapeshifted into Bloody Slayer, flying toward the camp in darkness. Baldy incoming, shouted Knife when Han Sen was 30 feet from the camp. Baldy quickly summoned a mutant beast soul spear and watched Han Sen closely. Knife also summoned his pair of daggers. Han Sen was in their face in no more than the blink of an eye. Holding the Shura katana, Han Sen whacked it at Baldy. This strike from above was swift and powerful, but Baldy raised his spear with 2 hands and tried to block it. The Shura katana cut into the spear deeply, and Baldy's legs were forced into the sand by Han Sen's terrifying strength. When Baldy thought that he had warded off the strike, his spear broke. Baldy wanted to go back, but his legs were still in the sand and there was no way to run. Another katana strike cut Baldy in half. After killing Baldy, Han Sen turned to deal with Knife, who immediately started running at an incredible speed, not leaving any chance for Han Sen to approach him. Shouting while running, Knife managed to alert Son of Heaven and the rest of the gang. Han Sen did not chase him, but lifted Gu, who was tied up, and ran away with all 4 hooves of the Bloody Slayer. Dollar, you son of a bitch. If you are a man, fight me one-on-one, cursed Son of Heaven behind him. I think it is more like 1 gang on 1 person, said Han Sen full of disdain, running at full speed. The gang thought that lifting a big man like Gu must slow Han Sen down and they could eventually catch up. But suddenly, a black 3-eyed tiger appeared next to Han Sen and he simply lay Gu on the tiger's back. The Bloody Slayer and the tiger disappeared from their sight in an instant. Why would that sacred blood creature help Dollar? The gang members were confused. Son of Heaven finally understood. Damn, That is not a sacred blood creature. It is a sacred blood beast soul pet. That mother Fasher had fed a sacred blood pet. Everyone was shocked. A sacred blood pet must have cost so much advanced creature meat to transform. After chasing for a while, the gang gave up. In fact, when they found out that the tiger was a sacred blood pet, they had lost confidence. How did he make a sacred blood pet transform? Did he use sacred blood creature meat to feed his pet? Everyone was shocked by the fact that Dollar had a transformed sacred blood pet, which implied incredible power of him. Han Sen ran for a while and shapeshifted back after losing the gang. He put Gu on the ground and cut loose the ropes. Dollar. Gu recognized him. Friend, how much do you think your life is worth? Asked Han Sen. Gu was suddenly taken aback. You also want my sacred blood sledgehammer. Not necessarily that beast's soul, but I did save you. You do not mean to say the risks I took are for nothing, right? Said Han Sen. Gu did not speak and cast an odd look at Han Sen. And now you have nothing but injuries. Can you leave Devil Desert alone safely? If you pay me 2 mutant beast souls, I could promise to get you back to the shelter alive. Gu Ming looked Han Sen up and down and summoned several beast souls. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. I know you and Son of Heaven are enemies, so I believe you. Here are all my mutant beast souls. Take your pick. Han Sen glanced at them and pointed twice. This one is my reward for saving you, and that one is the price to take you back to the shelter. In the station master's office of the teleport station on planet Roka, Qin Xuan and Yang Manli were watching a video, the edited game recording made by Fang Mingquan. He is this good at warframes. Yang Manli could not believe Han Sen was the one driving Silver Killer. His operational level was almost the same as the evolved warframe drivers in the army, which was so hard for her to believe. After all, Han Sen had just spent a few months in Blackhawk. Although Yang Manli already knew that Han Sen had fast hands and that he had passed Evolver 3 in Hand of God, she still could not help looking surprised, since this kind of operational skills took more than fast hands. Station Master, so Digging is really asking Han Sen to endorse their new warframe. Yang had mixed feelings. Digging was one of the 3 major suppliers for the military in the Alliance, with their products ranging from combat suits to interstellar warships. Digging made countless products for the military each year, but they also had product lines designed for civil use, which were known for their high quality. Although Digging did not sell as many as Starry Group, Digging's reputation was much better. It was not as well known as Starry Group only because its main client was the military. Recently, Digging had been committed to expanding its civil products. With the military labs as its research and development department, the quality of its products was not in question. Digging had found Han Sen to represent their new flagship product, Biological Warframe, which was beyond the imagination of both Qin Xuan and Yang Manli. With Digging's influence, it would be easy for them to seek endorsement of Evolver or Surpasser stars, yet Digging had chosen Han Sen, an unevolved person. Yang Manli was puzzled. Although Han Sen's skills were great among the unevolved, his level was still lower than the Evolver Masters. She wondered what it was that Digging had seen in him. To endorse a Digging product was a great honor, which Yang knew very well. All the stars who had this honor had military backgrounds and outstanding military exploits. Manli, contact Han Sen as soon as possible. This is an honor for the special squad as well. Qin Xuan felt that she had made the right call to recruit him. A few months after he joined the special squad, Han Sen had become the spokesperson of Digging, which was a boost in the relationship between the squad and Digging. Will do. Yang Manli nodded slightly. Han Sen escorted Gu Ming safely to the shelter in a great mood. Although he had not hunted any mutant or sacred blood creatures, he did weaken Son of Heaven's gang and left Son of Heaven with a sworn enemy. In addition, he had gained 2 mutant beast souls. As soon as he was back in the shelter, he was summoned by Yang Manli, which gave Han Sen a little headache. Although Yang Manli had great legs and breasts, she was cold as ice. Han Sen would do his best to keep away from her. Between Qin Xuan and her, Han Sen thought Qin Xuan was a true woman. Digging has invited you to endorse their new warframe. Go prepare yourself. When you are back in the Alliance, Digging will send someone to Blackhawk to sign a contract with you. If you have any concerns, speak to me right now and we will talk to Digging, Yang Manli said and laid a file in front of Han Sen. This is your incentives for the endorsement. Can I turn this endorsement down? Han Sen picked up the file, read it, and then asked, why? Yang Manli was shocked. It was a great honor even for many stars to be able to do this. She herself had dreamed of becoming the spokesperson for Digging someday. But presented with such an opportunity, Han Sen was asking whether he could turn this down, which confused Yang. I would have to be a part of their campaigns and roadshows. And that sounds like a lot of work, Han Sen said with his head crooked. Young Manly was sizzling with anger, wishing she could choke Han Sen to death. You don't want to do the endorsement because it is a lot of work. Young Manly clenched her fists until her knuckles turned pale. She was controlling herself not to slap this guy in the face. Digging is blind to have picked this guy, thought Young Manly. After a while, Young Manly calmed herself down and handed some more files to Han Sen. Take a good look and let me know if you need anything. Han Sen was satisfied with the offer. Each year he could receive a handsome endorsement fee, and Digging would provide him with a full set of the endorsed products and free lifelong after-sales service. That was to say Han Sen could receive one of each warframe that he endorsed and would not need to pay a penny for their maintenance. Although Han Sen did not know how much their new biological warframes would cost, he knew that even Digging's low-end products would cost a few million, much more expensive than the products of Starry Group. I have one condition. Han Sen looked up at Young Manly and said, "Say it." Young Manly did not want to spare any words on this lucky yet shameless guy. I have a warframe from a Digging lab and wish that Digging could install a weapon system to it and give it the same free lifelong after-sales service. Han Sen knew that although his was a prototype, the military standard was applied during its making, and the ones that he would endorse would be for civil use and not as great as Silver Killer. The only beef Han Sen had with Silver Killer was the lack of a weapon system. Any other conditions? Young Manly asked mechanically. Not at this time, Han Sen said with a smile. Young Manly got up and said, I will submit your request and the leadership will negotiate with Digging. Go back and stay in Blackhawk so that I could notify you with the result. Young Manly turned to leave, not wanting to spend one more second with this guy. After that night, Jai Yanran had quite complex feelings, not sure what she wanted to do, to become Han Sen's girlfriend, or turn him down. But how could she make him give up? He had shown her that he would not easily let go. Jai Yanran thought about all kinds of possibilities for the entire night, and was expecting hot pursuits from Han Sen to follow. However, she never even saw him again. The first day she did not see Han Sen, Jai Yanran curled her lips and thought, playing hard to get. I've seen this trick before. I will ignore you and see what kind of excuse you'd come up with to see me tomorrow. But on the next day, Jai Yanran still did not see him. You do have some patience, but this would never work on me. On the third day, Han Sen was still nowhere to be seen. Jai Yanran became a bit impatient. He must have been in an accident. Was he hit by an aircraft? Is his leg broken? Jai Yanran thought. On the fourth day, still no Han Sen. That bastard must feel that he doesn't deserve me, who is gentle and pretty, regal and sexy. That must be why he did not dare to approach me. Certainly, that must be the case. The fifth day, the sixth day, the seventh day. After 10 days she still had not seen him, and she lost her temper. Han Sen, you bastard, what do you take me for? You want to kiss and run? There is no such thing in my world. Jai Yanran was mad. And at this time, Han Sen had just come back to school and did not even have the chance to find her. Sen, you have come back just in time. Come with me to Professor Yan's class. Han Sen met Zhang Yang in the dorm room, who took his hand and dragged him away. How come you are going to Professor Yan's class? Han Sen was puzzled. Zhang Yang was a hot-blooded guy. He learned everything fast, but when it came to boring theories, he would feel tortured. You have not heard. Two of the chosen, Ding Zhaiming and Tang Zhenliu, have been invited to do a teaching demonstration today at Professor Yan's class. Zhang Yang was filled with excitement. Han Sen then suddenly realized why he was so excited. Tang Zhenliu was Zhang's idol. It was a poster of Tang instead of a hot girl that Zhang was hanging next to his bed. Zhang Yang's ideal major was not archery, but martial arts. Because his fitness index was not high enough, he had to take the special enrollment program. Han Sen had also wondered why someone like Zhang would study archery, which needed patience, and learned the reason later. Tang Zhenliu's fierce style was Zhang's favorite. No wonder he was so excited. Han Sen was taken to the classroom by Zhang Yang. For an unpopular class, the classroom was overcrowded on this day. There were no seats and even the stands on the second floor were full. A lot of girls were chatting excitedly about Yu Mingjai and Tang Zhenliu. Han Sen, you have also come to see Yu Mingjai and Tang Zhenliu. Come here and have a seat. A student saw Han Sen and offered him a seat very enthusiastically. That will be all for now. I hope you find this story interesting. Leave a like, subscribe and enable notifications so you won't miss the next part of this story. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.